Okay, at this time, I start regular governing board meeting to order. Ms. Guzman, can you please lead us in the pledge? Thank you. Roll call.
Governing Board President, Ms. Patricia Jimenez.
Present.
Governing Board Clerk, Ms. Maria Guzman. Governing Board Member, Mr. Rudy Santa Cruz.
Present.
Governing Board Member, Ms. Maria Hernandez. And then Governing Board Member, Mr. Harry Garwa. He is running late right now, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Next, do I have a motion to approve January 27, 2022 regular governing board meeting agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next, approval of the minutes for January 27. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Any discussion, changes? Hearing none, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next, we have governing board reports. First up is myself. I just want to welcome everybody. Sorry I was running a little bit late. I just want to kind of share with you, I've been approached, and I know with one of our COVID rates are pretty much going down, and I've been asked, by some community members that they want to be part of the meetings. So it's something that I said we still need to look at it as a board. And I know Phoenix Union they're allowing they're allowing people to go to their meetings as well. So hopefully this is something that we could discuss, because I think, safety is first for our kids in our schools, but I know that I told these community members that we're going to look into it, to go and kind of start our meetings back and go to the schools and have people come to our board meetings as well. I know that some districts are already doing it. Other than that, I know that I've been seeing the website and the activities that's going on at the schools. I saw one that they had one today at Moya. And I kind of just see it virtually, but it would be nice if we could start getting invitations of these events that we have at the schools. So if we have the opportunity to go, we could attend. So if the principals are watching, if you could invite the board to the events that you guys host at your schools, at least that, we could be informed, and if we could attend, we could attend. Other than that, that's all I needed to say, and that's it. Ms. Guzman?
I just want to thank everyone for being here today. No report.
Thank you. Mr. Santa Cruz?
I have no report.
Thank you. Mr. Garwal's not here. Ms. Hernandez? Okay, thank you. Next is Superintendent Update. Dr. Ventura?
Madam President, members of the board, and Isaac community, I'd like to report today that we had participants in the regional spelling bee. We'd like to congratulate our superstar spellers for demonstrating intelligence, poise, and endurance at the Scripps Region 3 Spelling Bee, which was held on February 18th at the Baltz Elementary School District. Carlos Castillo Martinez, a 7th grader at Isaac Middle School, took 6th place. Jalen Romero, a 5th grader from Mitchell, captured 9th place. And Jesus Bonilla Huerta, a fourth grader from Sutton participated in the event. I want to thank our teachers and our spelling bee coordinators, our district staff that helped put this together and prepare our students to do well in this competition. Tonight we have a few videos we'd like to share with you, spotlighting our staff and students. The first video, we'd like to spotlight our nurse at Butler, Miss Maritza Aguirre.
Hello, Isaac community. I'm Rob Miller, proud principal at Alta E. Butler Elementary School. Today, I am so honored to recognize one of our staff members. In Isaac School District, we work really hard to serve our kids and our community, to provide them with a quality education and a safe environment to participate in each and every day. Today's a special day for us because one of our very own employees is being recognized for Employee of the Month in Student Services. I want to take a second and say congratulations to Nurse Maritza Aguirre. Ms. Aguirre has joined our team and has been an absolutely seamless fit to our school and our community.
My name is Maritza Aguirre and I'm the very proud nurse of Alta E. Butler Elementary. I started last year and I'm so in love with this school. It's become my home. I'm very involved with the kids, with the community, with the staff as well.
We so appreciate her working with our students. She's quick to get on the phone, communicate with our families. Every student that comes in, she's extremely attentive to, takes great care of, puts on Band-Aids and sends them back to class so that we can continue the learning process.
I'm always here to serve the community and my school, so if you guys have any questions, you feel free to reach me and reach your friendly nurse.
Nurse Maritza Aguirre, we thank you for being part of Butler Elementary and more importantly, part of Isaac School District. Congratulations, you rock.
Our next presentation is of one of our students. It's a fifth grader, Anthony Ramirez from Esperanza School.
Every day in the Isaac School District, we work hard to deliver high-quality education to our students. And today, we would like to highlight Esperanza's fifth grader, Anthony Ramirez. As a fourth grader, Anthony reclassified as proficient in the Azala Language Proficiency Test. This year, Anthony continues his academic progress in both language proficiency and reading above grade level. Part of his academic success is because he's always at school on time, ready to work, and does not let anything deter him from his mission to excel in academics. Anthony has earned A's in all classes. According to his teacher, he pays great attention to detail on everything he does.
Anthony came into my fourth grade class last year. He was an English language learner, still trying to get up to grade level, and he has worked so hard the past year and a half. He passed the English language learning test, is now proficient in English. He is at grade level in math and in reading, and all of that just in 3 years in the United States. He's incredibly impressive, motivated, and enthusiastic student.
He treats everyone with respect and is willing to help his fellow classmates with great kindness.
He is full of star character. He is safe, he is respectful, he is responsible, he is kind to everyone he comes in contact with, and he is an excellent role model for not only his peers in fifth grade, but for all of us here at Esperanza.
Anthony is a great example of the academic growth students have here in the Isaac School District. Anthony, we are proud of you.
Thank you, and congratulations again to Ms. Maritza Aguirre and Anthony Ramirez for being exceptional members of our Isaac community. I have a few more announcements. One is, I'd like to give you an update on our percentage of vaccinated staff. We have two more department in school that reached the 80% vaccination rate. We'd like to congratulate our operations and transportation department at 81%, and Isaac Middle School hit 81%. District-wide, we are at 81.23%, and we're supporting and helping, encouraging our staff at Sutton, Butler, and the preschool to move along and get with us so we can all together reach this threshold. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have new business, information, discussion, and action. Presentation, status update, COVID-19 data review for Isaac School District, school reopening. Dr. Mario Ventura, Superintendent, Ms. Stella Barraza, Community Health and Safety Specialist. Ms. Information, Dr. Ventura.
Madam President, Ms. Barraza is on her way.
Good evening, Madam President, Governing Board, Isaac Community, and Dr. Ventura. I am back to present to you our benchmarks for our district and also our vaccine events that we have coming up. This chart is gonna hopefully you'll become familiar, but also I think it's, we're moving towards the left, hopefully, as you're gonna see the data. So we're gonna be paying more attention to this table here. In the coming weeks. We are very pleased to see that across the county, the numbers are continuing to decrease with transmission rate. As you can see here, drastic decrease from last week. In the weeks prior, we are now getting closer to that substantial and moving away from the high transmission rate. So great news coming our way. Same also relates to when we look at just the Isaac School District, which is also great news. We're at 191 per 100,000 cases, and the percent positivity is 13.79. Just to give you a snapshot, it was in the 400s per 100,000 the week prior. So definitely great numbers there. When we look at the reported cases by the schools, we can see that today there's 9 active cases for students, and all were close contacts from school. We continue to do our mitigation throughout our schools. Mask wearing is required indoors. Continue to promote our social distancing, and again, continue to follow the CDC guidelines as they stand as of today, and continue with the rapid testing and contact tracing. One of the main things that we continue to do is to follow what the CDC is guiding us. Here you can see a quote that was shared by the CDC director, Dr. Walensky, about 2 weeks ago in one of the White House COVID updates. And she mentioned that there will be, we're all anxiously waiting for a change, and there will be new guidance that will be released in the coming weeks. So we're definitely anxiously waiting for that guidance that, again, is relevant to the times that we're living with, the new variants and how the cases are transmitting. As you can see here, one of the exciting components that she mentioned was to utilize mask wearing just in special situations where if somebody has been positive or they're symptomatic or they've been a close contact. Those are some of the examples of when to wear the mask. As the guidance is released, we will update all of our guidance as well and notify all of the parties here. But we can see that the transmission is also being decreased. One of the main components that Dr. Walensky mentioned in her address was, hey, we now have vaccines, we now have the ability moving more towards our hospitals. Again, they continue to be at full capacity, but they're moving on towards the right direction as the cases decrease. And that's something that we know those are ways for us to manage COVID-19. Having access to healthcare, it's a huge component. And so that's something that our community, we know that it's of high need, and sometimes they don't have access to that healthcare to manage COVID. So again, what can we do is continue to follow the mitigation as much as guided by the CDC. And one of the ways is that we continue to reward students to be vaccinated, and to our program, It Pays to Be Safe. They get $100. It's available at each of our events, and we have an event pretty much every week or 2 times a week at one of our schools. Here's our event. It continues to be updated. We have an event tomorrow at Metro. We have an event on Saturday, and then we have the rest of the month scheduled for events. We won't have events during the spring break time, so that's something just to keep in mind for our community and our students. Any questions?
Thank you. Does the board have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, approval of the agreement between Omni Lab Services, Inc. and Isaac Elementary School District. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Okay, Dr. Ventura.
Madam President, and Governing Board, tonight we're asking the board to vote on the approving an agreement between Omni Lab Services and the Isaac School District. Omni Lab Services is a full medical laboratory service provider to the health industry. And what we would like to do is work with them to provide free COVID-19 testing at our schools. And the tests would be collected and processed through the laboratory, and individuals would receive information of their results between 48 to 72 hours. So this is at no cost to the district. I'd like to thank Mr. Gerwell and Mrs. Barraza for working on helping us get this going. It's a great service for our staff, and it's open to the community as well. Again, there is no cost to the district, and we're asking for your approval.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the board? No? Okay, call for the vote. Motion carries. Next, we have approval to purchase replacement HVAC units for Lila Alston School. Ms. Ling Lang, Chief Financial Officer, and Mr. David Morales, Director of Support Services. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Ms. Ling Lang?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Governing Board. This evening, we're requesting Governing Board approval to purchase 30 HVAC units for Lila Alston School. The current units that are there are extremely old and obsolete. The purchase of these units would be for the health and safety of our employees who will be relocating to Lila Alston. We'll be purchasing them from Ferguson HVAC off of their state contract, for a total of $171,000. And we will pay for this through our ESSER 2 funds. And this includes all of the units, along with all of the materials necessary for installation. Our HVAC technician at the district, our employee, will be installing the units.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions? Hearing none, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next, we have approval of roof improvement at Carl T. Smith, 2106 P02, 1 GPA. Ms. Ling Lang, Chief Financial Officer, and David Morales, Director of Support Services. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Ms. Lang?
Madam President, members of the Governing Board, we're asking for Governing Board approval to contract with Progressive Roofing to improve the roof at Carl T. Smith. It would involve cleaning the roof surface and applying 2 coats of elastomeric coating. It will come with a 5-year warranty and will be paid for from our rental receipts received from that location. It'll be under the contract of through one GPA for a total of $170,200.
Is there any questions from the board? Hearing none, call for the vote. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of music K-5 adoption. Dr. Erica Avila, Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning. Dr. Lily Mesa Lema, Director Curriculum and Instruction. And Benjamin Paley, Lead Music Teacher. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Dr. Avila?
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Governing Board and Isaac Community. This evening we have our presentation for our K-5 music adoption. Dr. Mesa Lema will be presenting the information.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Isaac Community. I'm very excited to be here to present to you a recommendation to adopt a K-5 textbook. The purpose of our adoption and the rationale, following in line with our previous adoptions, is really to provide up-to-date and researched evidence-based, relevant, and appropriate materials for our teachers and students so that they can effectively support the learning process in the classroom. This adoption intends to offer all teachers and students greater access to relevant print as well as digital resources in the areas of K-5 music instruction. The adoption timeline, if you can recall, we started back in March 2021. The reason why the K-5 math was extended, if you see during August and December, the team piloted the resources and made a final selection, which we're presenting to you today. So it's the piloting was the reason why this adoption has been extended as opposed to the other ones. The adoption process follows very much in line with our previous adoption recommendations in the past. We form a committee to begin with. We contact then the publishers regarding upcoming adoptions to let them know, send us materials. We identify an evaluation criteria which we use in order to evaluate the resources. And finally, we get to the textbooks availability to the public so they can provide feedback as well. We request the proposals with including the cost, and we're here today making that final recommendation to you for adoption. Committee composition, like the other adoptions, includes teachers, site administration, academic coaches, content specialists or strategists, and district leadership. Per requirements, we do have to publish our dates. These are the dates that we met in order to engage in the conversations and the review of the materials. The goals of this committee were four. One was to ensure that the materials align to our instructional anchors, standards-based curriculum, maps and materials, effective Tier 1 in academic language, also aligned to our strategic plan and goals to ensure that materials are culturally responsive, that provide assessments for mastery, that they provide digital tools for learning, and that there's writing incorporated into the learning process. In addition, it's important for us to ensure that all adopted materials address the needs of our diverse learners. That's our emergent bilinguals, students learning English, exceptional learners, those students with an IEP, and our gifted and talented. And finally, goal in the adoption is to ensure that those materials that are selected build on teacher expertise. After the selection of the materials, we evaluated using a tool, a common tool that was used for all materials that were selected, including the ones that had been already adopted. So it was the same tool that we use for our K-5 music materials. We did this work in 3 phases. Phase 1 was the study and the evaluation of the materials that the publishers sent and selecting the top 2. Phase 2 included the deep study of those 2 top selected materials, including the piloting phase. And then we're here in the last phase, which is this recommendation that we're making to you today. Here's a list of our committee members for the K-5 music adoption. This team reviewed 3 different vendors: Quaver, Spotlight on Music, and Interactive Music. Out of those 3, the top 2 scores were for Quaver Music and Spotlight on Music. The team, after reviewing these top 2 vendors, using the rubric in a more in-depth basis, decided they wanted to pilot Quaver Music. And finally, this gets us to where we are right now, making the recommendation. The team has recommended Quaver Music for adoption. It's a comprehensive K-8 general music curriculum that includes instructional materials that are theme-based, have digital access for our learners, incorporates writing, and it's aligned to music standards. In addition to that, the lessons integrate connections to other content areas, such as math, science, history, literacy, etc. Districts that are currently using Quaver Music include those listed here, and this is a curriculum that is used internationally as well. For those reasons, the committee has put Quaver forward to you for approval for adoption at this point. Can entertain any questions the board may have.
Thank you very much. Does the board have any questions?
No question, Madam, just a comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Garbo.
Dr. Lema, I'm glad that you were able to bring this forward and, with good recommendations. I just want to say that, as a former musician in school, elementary school, high school, and college, I don't ever remember having to go through those kinds of rubrics. If you could read music, you're okay. So I'm glad to see that everything is, across the board and that it's included in there, because I've always felt that that was a really important aspect of it, because as musicians, we only get gig jobs, right? But this gets us to another level. But I just wanted to make a comment that I'm very glad that we've gotten something that actually goes across our curriculum. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions? Thank you. Call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Next, we have consideration and possible approval to amend the superintendent evaluation instrument by consolidating components 1 and 2 and consolidating components 3. And is it that 5? I'm sorry, and 4 for the FY 2020-2021 superintendent evaluation for Dr. Ventura, superintendent. Is there a motion? Is there a second? I'll second it. Dr. Ventura?
Madam President, members of the board, as you know, we've been doing our best to keep our schools open and work and provide quality learning and safety during COVID. And but some of these activities and working under these conditions did not allow us to reach some of the data points for the superintendent goals. And so what we're bringing forth is combining Student Achievement Goal 1, which is our benchmark data, with Goal 2. Goal 2 is AZ Merit Proficiency Growth, and last year was the first time this new assessment was given, so we don't have the ability to show growth on that new assessment that we did provide our students. And then we were not able to do the parent-school climate because our schools were closed, but we still have the leadership. So what I'm bringing forth for possible approval and amendment to the superintendent evaluation goals is to combine goals 1 and 2 to make it one goal worth 50% of performance pay, and then combining goals 3 and 4, making that worth 50% of the performance pay.
Does the board have any questions?
Madam
Okay,
President?
Mr. Garwa?
Yes, just a couple of items if I can. And I understand, Dr. Ventura, that it's been a challenging couple of years for us here, and not just for Isaac, but for all the school districts. So I appreciate all of our efforts. I went back and I took a look at a couple of things, but what I wanted to ask, Madam President, is that because the evaluation instrument is already outdated because of the way that, we're now looking at growth and proficiencies, right? Because we're not doing that anymore. I'm wondering, at what point are we going to do the evaluation instrument to reflect what we're doing today? In particular, because we do now have a very good instrument in our strategic plan, and as a matter of fact, we had a great presentation made, albeit 150 slides was a little bit too much for me, but, I got past it. But on January 27th, we actually had some very essential data in there, So 2 questions. Number 1, are we looking at revamping the evaluation instrument for the superintendent? Okay, that's my first question, along with, in alignment with our strategic plan. I would think that would be,
Yes.
The appropriate thing, correct?
Yeah, Dr. Ventura and I met, and actually that's why we wanted to see when you're available on our board retreat, which is going to be up at March 28th. And that's one that we're going to be discussing is the evaluation of the superintendent.
Okay.
So, hopefully you guys can make it that day on the 28th. That's when we're going to be talking about.
Okay. And then my other point is that, and I do understand the fact, and a couple of things. First of all, we did receive the instrument with the letter from Dr. Ventura on February the 3rd in alignment with, our policy. However, we didn't receive any supporting data until the 22nd, which was 2 days ago. And quite frankly, I didn't even have a chance to get around till yesterday to take a look at it. And again, it's 2021 data. So I'm wondering, Madam President, since we had such a great presentation and we had a good baseline, because this is the second quarter, okay, we have under Goal 1, exceptional teaching and learning for our students, where we have the achievement gaps. So we actually have data that's now, 2 quarters. So I'm wondering why we're not using that data in order to make the evaluation, since it's more real time, and it's something that's still germane to the instrument that we're looking at today, albeit it's a different kind of instrument that we're looking at. But my point is that rather than compress down to 2, I think we've got enough data to be able to look at it. So with that said, I do know that we have until March the 15th to do the evaluation. So I would recommend for us to consider, taking a look at if we can use that information, because compressing it down to 2, I think is a little bit of a, in my opinion, a stretch. So my question to that particular one is, Madam President, had we done the same consideration for all staff, for principals, for teachers, for their evaluations, because most of the evaluations of staff is in that school year. So that would be 2021, 2022, right? So I'm wondering why, we're not using that same rubrics to be able to do the evaluation for the superintendent. Just some questions that I'd like to get clarified, if you could.
Madam President, so Mr. Garwell, the way the policy is written, and this is the way even before I arrived here, it seems like the superintendent evaluation is done into the next year for the previous year.
Right.
So the data that you have before you, those are valid assessments that I shared with you, the growth, and that's what I was asking for the board to use to evaluate growth. And even though I'm not asking for any leniency, because we know, we did not provide the best teaching, we didn't have the best teaching conditions possible the last several years. But still, that's, it's part of my job and my responsibility to make sure we do everything we can so our students learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's still within this, this evaluation goal. So that data is for last year. And again, the evaluation just falls on this calendar day for last year. We could provide the data, but it would not line up with the policy that we have, that my evaluation is based on the previous year as it reads in the policy.
Oh, I didn't read that, I'm sorry. I just saw that the instrument no later than February 5th, and board president scheduled a meeting no later than March the 15th. You know, so is there a particular piece in there that says that we're looking at the previous year? I didn't read that in here, I'm sorry.
I will, if you look at the instrument, it will say that in the instrument. And I'd have to look at the policy, Mr. Gill. I don't have it in front of me. Can I borrow yours, Madam President? Yep, your policy. It doesn't read that in here, Mr. Garl, that I can see. But if you were to do it now with this data, I would not have a full year for you to provide me the evaluation. Again, the timeline of the evaluation, not something that I set up. It's always been done this way.
Right.
We could change that as well for the upcoming year. But if we do this year, then I will not have been evaluated for the year for last year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And, you know, the only reason I'm asking is because I actually went back and pulled up my notes from February 24th, 2021. And it's exactly the same conversation we had there, you know, about receiving the 2021 year data. And so.
Mr. Guerrero, can you remove your mask? I can't hear you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Sure. So I just went back and I was looking at it. And to your point, Dr. Ventura, you know, I can understand why we had it set up the way we had, because a lot of the information was in the rears. But I believe that now that we've gone to the point where we have a strategic plan, which, you know, really has a more timely type of information and data points on it, that we could actually use that to reflect the actual calendar or the school year that we're in. Because, and I don't know about Ms. Hernandez, but I remember my first year in 2019, I was evaluating you on 2017, 2018, and I wasn't even here. I was here 2 months and we did the evaluation. So every year since then, we keep looking back a year. And I can understand why it was so much of a challenge, because we didn't have the right mechanisms, the infrastructure to be able to do it real time. But I know that we have that now with our strategic plan. And I would just recommend that if we don't, I mean, obviously we can't do it today, but going forward, I would want us to consider doing this on an evaluation of a regular school year, because we will have that real-time data. And I've done some research, you know, national or statewide, and a vast majority of superintendents are actually on the fiscal year or the calendar year of the school on their evaluations. I didn't find very many that were always a year in, a year in arrears. So I just think that we have a better infrastructure, a better, you know, mechanism in place. But compiling everything into two categories, compressing them, I think is a bit of a stretch. But again, you know, it's whatever the will of the board is. But I just wanted to raise that because, as I mentioned, we're looking at real-time data now. So part of the reason I was late today. I was doing another evaluation for another executive in Scottsdale, and we were looking at real-time data like, you know, we are today. So I would recommend that because I think it's a better reflection, and it's in all fairness to you. You know, we're actually looking at it because I think the staff also gets evaluated on that calendar year, right, or that school year.
Right.
You know, and that's my understanding that, you know, they do. So it would line up. It would be more in sync. You know, so I'm not opposing collapsing that, but what I am suggesting is that we have data right now that we could actually utilize, but I think that's a March discussion, right? But I wanted to put it on the record that, you know, I think we're in a different spot today where we could actually do that. And like I said, in all fairness to yourself, because sometimes the data in the rears, you know, doesn't really reflect what we're doing. But I also think it brings us into an alignment and more of a compliance of actually evaluating you on a real-time basis. So anyway, those are my comments.
Yeah. And Mr. Garrow, I would like to add as well that you can, you know, the evaluation part the second goal, which is leadership, there's narratives there that you can cross-reference the strategic plan and provide me feedback and on my performance in that area. So it doesn't limit you from, at this point, looking at that data and saying, here's where you did poorly, here's where you did well, here's where we'd like to see improvement, et cetera. So you still have that, the board still has that capacity or capability to use the plan in that section of leadership. But I would, Madam President, if as we discussed before, for the retreat, we discussed looking at the strategic plan and finding metrics there that we could, like Mr. Garwell says, do real time. We could also change the evaluation date. My fiscal year is June 30th, is the end of the year, so we could plan to have the next evaluation as early as August or September. But some of the, and it may be too, some of the financial reporting is also a bit lagged. Ms. Lang just shared with me something today, that it was an audit for comparing the 2 previous years, and we just received it today. So there is some information that we do have real time, and there's some that still take some time to get.
Yeah, no, I get it, because actually, I was looking at the Auditor General's report, and so there's 2 years of reporting on there, and that was one of the things that's in your evaluation, that it was only a single year, but it's actually 2 years of points.
Right. Well, again, I provided you information for last year, so last year was when it began, but we've already, for this year, it came, so now we have 2 points, 2 data points.
Okay, any further questions? No? Okay, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the whole consent agenda? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. Ms. Nancy, is there any call to the public?
Madam President, at this moment, there are no requests from the public to speak.
Thank you. Next, we have information. February 25th, it pays to be safe COVID-19 vaccine event at Mitchell Elementary School from 3:30 to 6. February 26th, it pays to be safe COVID-19 vaccine event at Pueblo del Sol School from 8 a.m. to 11:30. March 3rd, it pays to be safe COVID-19 vaccine at St. Joseph Cito from 4 to 7. March 7th through the 11th, spring break, no school. March 17th, it pays to be safe vaccine event at Morris K. Udall from 4 to 7. March 19th, it pays to be safe COVID-19 vaccine event at Isaac Middle School from 8 to 11:30. And March 24th, it pays to be safe COVID-19 vaccine event at Pueblo del Sol from 4 to 7. You have your enrollment of 5,391. Our next regular board meeting will be held here at 5 p.m. Thursday, March 24th. And right now, do I have a motion to approve to convene to executive session to conduct the superintendent annual evaluation of 2021-2022 performance goal assessment? Dr. Mario Ventura, superintendent, is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, call for the vote. Okay, motion carries. So we go into executive session.
teaching his kid. I didn't know he
Those
was.
other ones from Rudy
Okay,
over there.
ready? Ready, guys?
Yeah, get all that stack over there.
So right now, I need approval to end executive session and reconvene into regular session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, call for the vote.
Did you vote? Trying to teach this kid. Yeah, I couldn't get him to understand. So,
It's the minutes. What's that paper that I gave you?
Can I sign those other ones over there, honey?
tell me. He'd be dumb.
Someone's cold over there.
There you go. What'd you say?
He's in Alaska.
How you guys been? Good?
Yes. Good sandwich.
Oh, yeah, they were good, huh? Which one did you have?
I had the, what was it, the BLT with avocado. Yeah, it did the trick.
They were good sandwiches. Good choice. ¿Qué es? Pork belly or qué era? Hot belly.
There's one on 7th Avenue in McDowell.
¿Está bien, McDowell? Fun. No iban bien.
How did these two divide by two?
But we haven't approved this. It needs to, we all voted. It needs to motion. Voted, I need to, for the motion it passes for B. There was a, yeah, but did it pass? Yeah, like we move on then? Okay, so motion carries. So this one, what you were saying? Okay, right here, read it. Well, let me do this first. So consideration and possible approval of superintendent performance by pay Dr. Mario Ventura, superintendent. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Dr. Ventura?
Madam President, based on the ratings and the evaluation and the whole recommended actions to approve the superintendent performance pay.
I can't hear you.
Thank you. Madam President, based on the evaluation and the goals within the evaluation, the recommendation is made to approve the superintendent performance pay at a rate of 70% of the total possible.
Okay, any questions from the board? No? Okay, call for the vote. Motion carries. Okay, now, meeting adjourned.